The moral of this story is never underestimate Paul King. This is Wonka. Uh, yeah, I'm reviewing this a little late. I would like to point out that this film did end up making over $200 million at the domestic box office. So, Warner dropped three movies at the end of the year, and Wonka ended up being the highest grossing of all of them. So, there's something. It does star Timothy Chalamet as the titular Willy Wonka, among a wide array of supporting cast members, from Olivia Colman to Keegan Michael Key to uh, Hugh Grant, who I'm told hated filming this. There's a comment from him saying that he hated being an Oompa Loompa. Um, so well, I hated you being an Oompa Loompa. Fine then. Uh, this film does have audio description. I bought it off the Apple Store. It's where I get my movies, and I was fairly confident. It's a musical, and it's Paul King, and this is director of Paddington and Paddington 2, two films I shouldn't like, but I do. And Paddington 2 is one of those things where it's just like it has an unholy cult following behind it, where it's just like a whole bunch of people that are like, this is the perfect film. This is the best thing I've ever seen. Like, it's not a film that you would normally think that for, but there's a reason why they're making a third Paddington. It's because of Paul King. So he's a fantastic director that we take for granted. Anytime I see his name attached to anything from now on, I'm just going to assume that he's got a take on it, you know. And it's going to be, even if it's not the best film of the year, it's going to be good. It's going to be worth watching. And that's what this is. He created a origin story for Willy Wonka that I don't know that we really needed, but this is one. It's got music in it. The music is cute. I liked it. I'm really surprised none of these songs were nominated for Best Original Song at the Oscars. Really? None of them were even shortlisted for Best Original Song, which is even more disturbing. I'm just like, what is happening here? Um, Man, that washing song is like stuck in my head. It's not really like a great song, but it's catchy and they use it over and over. And it sounds reminiscent of the Oompa Loompa March. So it's like it pays its own level of homage. Um, and it's entertaining, but yeah, Timothy plays, or Timothée. I think he's fully accepted the fact that nobody is calling him Timothée uh, anymore, and he just Timothy. If you look at early interviews, it's Timothée is how he like wants his name to be pronounced, but he just I think he's given up on that. So Timothy Chalamet plays Willy Wonka as a young man who travels to this city that is renowned for its chocolatiering, where he wants to also open up a store and become a chocolatier. But what he doesn't know is that the chocolatiers in this area are basically like a mafia. And they control all this chocolate, and they pay people in chocolate like it's a drug. Basically, this is drugs. Uh, so replace everything with drugs, and the film still works. Replace chocolate with drugs, and the film still makes entirely a bunch of sense. Um, and they own the cops, and he ends up going to this boarding house that he ends up being stuck at, where he meets this little girl named Noodle, who is delightful. And not I don't remember the name of the actress, but she's delightful, and I hope to see her again in other things. Absolutely carries her weight against Timothy. She has a lot of screen time. Um, and the two of them, along with everybody else who are trapped, conspire to get out and have their own lives. And Wonka to build his candy uh, em- empire, or at least a store. He keeps trying to go out and sell his candy, and his candy is so whimsical it makes people like think of certain things. Or he doesn't just make chocolate; he makes experiences. It's just a great movie. Um, Timothy sounded a lot better than I thought he would singing. I was always kind of like, why does Timothy Chalamet sound like singing? I don't know. There are a bunch of people on Broadway you could have picked. It's just somebody with a solid voice. Um, and I'd heard a lot of mixed reviews on Timothy Chalamet. I enjoyed his take on Wonka. I feel like he's not trying to be anybody who was Wonka before. He is just trying to be himself. And for that, I appreciated it so much. He's trying to do his own thing, his own version. And the only reason you wouldn't like it is if you had some sort of expectation of who Willy Wonka is supposed to be. But for a young Willy Wonka, also shout out to casting Colin O'Brien from the canceled Dear Edward as the even younger version of him. That was such a solid casting choice. I'm glad that kid is still getting roles. Yes, it's so brief, but when I looked it up and I saw who, I was like, oh my god, that was Colin O'Brien. Kid's a great actor, and anchored an entire season of a show. So yes, uh, and only has fleeting moments with the mom, played by Sally Hawkins. Um, Most of it is Chalamet as the older version of Wonka. Um, with complaints, I don't think this film needed the Oompa Loompas. I thought they were introduced kind of oddly, and I do think Hugh Grant makes for an awful Oompa Loompa. I think he's a very weird, considering where we go with Oompa Loompas. I think it's so notably Hugh Grant that he's not trying to be anything else. I think he's the wrong actor for the part. Um, I get that the film is in many ways like demeaning to little people, but at the same time, uh, I still wouldn't have gone with Hugh Grant. He's like instantly recognizable as Hugh Grant. And at no point did I feel like the actor inside. And the funny thing is that it's not like everybody in this film has a British accent either. So he didn't need a British Oompa Loompa. So he wasn't like trapped into the idea of having British actors. This is a weird film where it takes place in a land where people just sort of have all of the accents. Some people have British and some people don't. And that's just the way of the world, you know? Like, we got Keegan-Michael Key and Timothy Chalamet walking around, and they're just doing just fine. But then we got Olivia Colman with her crazy Cockney accent. And then Hugh Grant with his British Oompa Loompa. It's very weird. Um, yeah, that's the only thing I didn't like about it. It had nothing to do with Wonka or the story. I like the story, I like the plot, I like how it's going. I don't mind the idea of this mafia that he has to defeat so that he can bring chocolate to the world, considering they make quite a big point to show that the mafia is like hiding the chocolate and controlling like the flow of chocolate and giving it out and making it high price so that poor people can't have it. And so like Wonka's bringing chocolate so that everybody can have it. It's a nice film that way. I don't get why the Oompa Loompas are here. I don't know why it had to be Hugh Grant as like the main one. Um, and I just would have gone a different way with it. So that's just me. I don't mean it has to be. I don't think I'm not saying let's continue to cast little people as Oompa Loompas. Uh, if you want to cast a normal sized man and shrink them down, fine. Not Hugh Grant. And this was a dumb way to introduce the Oompa Loompas. Other than that, I thought this film was delightful. Paul King he has so much whimsy in the film that it makes sense for him to direct Roald Dahl stuff. and attack that. He probably should attack something else of Roald Dahl's next. Been a while since we've had a remake of James and the Giant Peach. Um, you know, maybe he could think about that. There's a musical of that. Maybe he could bring the James and the Giant Peach musical to the big screen. Food for thought. Paul King would probably be the right director for that. But this was a fun time. Timothée Chalamet does a great job. I enjoyed his work here. I enjoyed most of the cast, save one person who's also bitching about being in the film. And I'm not complaining because he's bitching. I'm complaining because I agree. I didn't like you in the film. You didn't like being in the film. I didn't like you in the film. So it's a mutual understanding. I love Hugh Grant as an actor. I thought he was, I would have nominated him for an Oscar for About a Boy. Yeah, so, but I didn't need him here. The audio description leans in on the whimsy. There's a lot of whimsical leanings, and it seems to capture a lot of the tone of what the film is going for. I kind of wonder if it's fully captures like the production and set design though. If I completely got an idea of what this place looks and feels like. Sometimes characters would talk about something and I'd feel like, I don't know if I'm fully understanding here. Like, for example, I don't know that I fully ever got the idea of the Oompa Loompa. You know, like, how small is he? Because I think, isn't he captured like under a jar or something at some point? I'm like, isn't that a little, I mean, bit much? You know, I kind of remember Oompas being a little bit bigger than that in the movies. But anyway, so I had a couple questions just in terms of what is that, but without any visual reference or visual point. It's just me going like, I don't know. Huh. I didn't watch this with a sighted person, so I didn't have anybody to go and be like, what's up? What's happening right now? And sometimes I miss that because I don't have anybody to check when I question something. But I'm just gonna reserve judgment on this audio description. I think it's probably fine, but also there were just a couple times where I feel like I wonder if there's more. I wonder if there's more. Just because having been a person who can see, if you've seen either of the Willy Wonka films before, you know what I'm talking about. And while Paul King does not have a deep filmography that suggests that he is automatically, that he has a specific style like Wes Anderson does, Paddington was very stylized. So I have no reason to believe that this is not heavily stylized as well. And that a lot of the whimsy could have been left out of the audio description. It's possible. So I'm actually kind of anxious to watch this again. I'm so glad that I bought it because mainly just because of the music. I want to go back and listen to the music again. I enjoyed the music. There's a song that Timothée Chalamet has towards the end. It's not pure imagination that I liked. Although that does come up. Anyway, yes, watch Wonka. It's a delightful film. I just disagree with the Oompa Loompas. So I'm gonna give Wonka an A-. So just a fun experience for all. And yeah, just put a smile on your face and enjoy it and learn to trust in Paul King. I don't know what his next film is, but whatever it is, I'm just gonna be like, yeah, it's gonna be great. Whatever it is, doesn't matter. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Go to my website, macmovieguy.com. Threads or Instagram at macmovieguy. You can go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what is audio description, where you can watch it. And you can go to the ADNA.org. That's the ADNA.org. It'll let you know who's narrating your favorite films and television series. That's it for me today. I will watch something else and see you guys on the other side.